Now that I have the camera set up in front of the set, I've got it positioned relatively low. That's really for the benefit of filming so that you can see what's going on behind the camera. Otherwise, I might have this up a little bit higher. I may even, if it was not this particular experiment, I may even have it handheld. Tripods are a really valuable tool. It's one of those things, if you purchase correctly, you'll have it for a long, long time. This tripod happens to be, I don't know, in my possession for maybe 20 years now. And at that point I had traded for it, so I haven't dated the tripod. It's probably 45 years old. Anyway, I've got the tripod set up, and the reason for this is, particularly for this experiment, or portion of the experiment, the camera is not going to move. The things that are going to move in this experiment are going to be the bottles in front of the camera, so I'm going to be moving these bottles around, creating a dynamic composition in front of the camera, and I'm going to be repositioning the light. This part of the lighting characteristics has to do with direction. So what we're going to be doing is moving the light. It's going to create a different sort of shadow pattern each time. And then we're going to be modifying the bottles in response to those new shadows. So we're going to be following the table, going around the table here with this lamp source. So the first position will be basically from the perspective of the camera. We're effectively just right over the top of the camera here, and so then we'll be creating a composition in front of the camera. We'll make a couple of exposures, and then we'll continue. I'm going to recommend shooting maybe 3 or 4 different compositions from each of these positions on the light. So you'll position the light, you will look through your viewfinder, you're going to move these bottles around and create compositions. Position number 2 is going to be right off of the corner here of the table. So this is creating another angle of lighting that you will then work with. You'll just be moving the bottles around once more. You can have one tipped over or however you sort of start to see this. Again, the camera is not moving any at all. It should stay in the same spot. If you don't have a tripod, what that means is you're going to need to set it on the table and not move it each time. Next position is right at the side here. Again, the same idea. You're going to move the bottles around, recompose, shoot several compositions. Position 4, again, right off of this diagonal now. Move the bottles around, compose. Position 5. Now, this is a tricky one because what we have now is backlighting. Backlighting is tricky because the camera and the light are now facing each other. And we don't necessarily want the light to be in the shot, and particularly the housing of the light. So one strategy here is going to be to manipulate the composition or moving these bottles in such a way that the light is going to come through, but you will not see the lamp itself. This one's a tricky one, probably the most challenging of all of them. Then, moving again to this back corner, repositioning the bottles. Moving to the side, this side now, coming from this direction, repositioning the bottles. And then finally, position number 8, right off of this corner. Once again, moving the bottles, repositioning them, and so on. You're making several compositions with each new position of the light, but you're not moving the camera at all. If you didn't have this kind of a light, let's just say, for instance, that you were at home and you were trying to conduct this experiment. Well, you could set things up on a table. The objects really could be anything. The objects could be, glasses or something like that, or cups that are not highly reflective. It is a good idea to have a sort of a non-subject so that the images can pretty much just be about the light. So you can have something like that, you set your camera up, and quite literally I could be doing this experiment, or you could be doing this experiment if you were at home with a flashlight. Yeah, a flashlight. It's good if it's an LED flashlight, because that mimics what we're doing here. But literally, you could just be moving the light around. You could be having someone help you. They'd be holding a flashlight in this position, holding a flashlight in this position, and so on. And you would be getting the same idea. What we're doing is we are working with angles and shadows based on the direction of the light. And that is essentially part one of experiment one, the 5 characteristics of light.